very important. At the moment, at the minute that we are talking, there are thousands of refugees suffering in Libya. They are in a very horrendous situation where thousands are dying, thousands are starving, thousands are being sold as slaves. At the moment, they are in the middle of war. When we were organizing this event last week, I had a phone call from Libya telling me that 2 young Eritreans were shot dead and another young boy passed away because of illness. This is a daily happening, a daily event. And last night, I had a phone call from Tujura Detention Center where there are about 6 under 5-year-olds, about 30 women, and about 400 men from Eritrea, Sudan, and other countries. And they are crying for help. They are desperate for support. And I think this is the beginning that we have to do to support these people who are desperate for their lives. We know there has been an operation to stop refugees from coming to Europe. All the search and rescue organizations have been stopped from doing that and from saving lives. And there has been a partnership between the 2 groups in Libya, I would say 2 governments in Libya, to intercept people from coming to Europe and sending them back into the hands of the human traffickers. It's been covered widely in the media that people has been sold as slaves at the moment, and the cheapest they can be sold is to $200, and when they are transferred from one seller to the other one, the maximum they are asking now for some people is up to $40,000. This is ridiculous. They can't pay even a penny. The penniless people, they are suffering in the hands of traffickers. People are being raped, being sold, being killed. And above all, they are starving. There is no any medication, no medical service in Libya at all. So natural death, starvation, being tortured, being killed, all this, that's what they are going through. And it's been more than 3 years. I was reading a report yesterday. About 3,600 people were intercepted in the first 6 months of 2019 and sent back to Libya. So it's shame. It's lots of European governments are working with these human traffickers, working with the Libya Coast Guard to intercept people and send them back. So these people have been in limbo and trapped in that horrible situation for the last three years. So now what we are demanding is, at least claiming asylum is a human right, basic human right, and the people should not deny people from claiming asylum because that is their human right. Detention is it's against human right, and the people are detained in Libya, and our money is going there to support these groups to detain them in a dignified, inhuman way in Libya. UNHCR has got a gathering and removal center, and the capacity of that center is only 600 people. And that raises hope for people to go and gather in that gathering center, but they don't allow them for weeks, months, and nearly a year. There are people who are waiting, who wait outside and are not allowed to go into the UNHCR gathering center. So we demand UNHCR to go to Libya and open a refugee camp and then evacuate people to neighboring countries. We demand other European countries to take their contribution including UK, to take people to give them a safer route to claim asylum. Thank you very much.
We're now going to march to the town hall. Please be considerate about other people who are using the shops and so on as you go. We will have to make ourselves a bit of a slimmer group than we are at present. Okay. Yes, go.
Yeah, this is
Yes,
nakakarap balon. Kanan dia, news.
1, 2, 3.
Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya. 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 Save refugees in Libya. Save refugees in Libya. Save refugees in Libya.
Save refugees in Libya.
Save refugees in Libya.
Save refugees in Libya.
Don't let them die.
Don't make them die.
Don't let them die.
Don't make them die.
Don't let 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 them die.
Save refugees in Libya.
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 Don't let them die.
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 Save refugees in Libya.
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 Save the refugees in Libya.
Save refugees in Libya.
Save refugees in Libya.
Save refugees in Libya.
Don't let them die.
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 Don't let
let them die.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die.
Save lives in Libya.
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 Evacuate the stranded refugees. Evacuate the stranded refugees. Evacuate the stranded refugees. Evacuate the trapped refugees. Evacuate the trapped refugees. Save lives in Libya.
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 Don't let them die 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 in Libya.
Save refugees in Libya.
Save refugees in Libya.
Save refugees in Libya.
Save refugees in Libya.
We need UNHCR 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 in Libya.
Save refugee lives in Libya.
Save refugees in Libya.
Save refugee lives in Libya.
Save refugees in Libya.
Save refugee lives in Libya.
Save refugees in Libya.
Save refugee lives in Libya.
Save refugees in Libya.
Don't let them die 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 in Libya.
Save lives in Libya.
Save lives in Libya.
Save lives in Libya.
Save lives in Libya.
Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya.
Rescue the stranded.
Refugees in Libya.
Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya.
Rescue the stranded in Libya.
Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya.
Rescue the stranded in Libya.
Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya.
Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya.
Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya.
Don't let
Rescue the stranded refugees
Don't
in
let
Libya.
Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya.
Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya.
Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya.
Refugees in Libya.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die.
Save lives.
Save lives.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die.
Save lives.
Save lives.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die.
Save lives.
Save lives.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die.
Save lives.
Save lives.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die.
Save lives.
Save lives.
Save lives.
Save lives.
Save lives.
Save lives.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die.
Save lives.
Save
Save
lives.
lives.
Save lives.
Save lives.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die. Don't
Let
let
them
them
die.
die.
Save lives.
Save
Save
lives.
Save lives.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die.
Save lives.
Save lives.
Save lives in Libya.
Save lives in Libya.
Yes.
Save lives in Libya.
Save lives
Save lives
in Libya.
in Libya.
Save lives in Libya.
Save lives in Libya.
Save lives in Libya.
Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya.
Rifletaveallo. Rifletaveallo. Rifletaveallo.
Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya.
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 Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya. Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya.
Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die.
Save lives.
Save lives.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die.
Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya.
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 Don't let them die.
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 Save lives.
Save lives.
Save lives.
Save lives.
Save lives.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die. Don't let them die.
Save stranded refugees in Libya. Refugees in Libya. Save the stranded refugees in Libya.
Save the stranded refugees in Libya.
Save the stranded refugees in Libya. Save the stranded refugees in Libya. Don't let them die. Don't let them die. Don't let them die.
Save lives. Save lives. Save lives. Save lives.
Save the stranded refugees in Libya. Save the stranded refugees in Libya.
Don't let them die. Don't let them die.
Don't let them die. Save lives. Save lives.
Save lives. Save lives.
Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya.
We need UNHCR in Libya now.
We need
We need UNHCR in Libya now.
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 We need UNHCR in Libya now. Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya. Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya. Asylum is a human right. Asylum is a human right. Asylum is a human right. Yes.
Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya. Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya.
Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya.
Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya.
Rescue the stranded refugees in Libya. Rescue the stranded. Save lives. Save lives.
Save lives.
Save lives. I tried to ارمي حول. I tried.
Don't let them die!
Don't let them die. Don't let them die.
Don't let them die!
Don't let them die. Don't let them die.
Don't let them die. Don't let them die.
Don't let them die.
Don't let them die. Don't let them die.
Save refugees in Libya. Save refugees in Libya.
Save refugees in Libya.
Save refugees in Libya.
Save refugees in Libya.
Save refugees in Libya.
Save refugees in Libya. We need UNHCR in Libya now.
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 Save the stranded refugees in Libya.
Save
Save the stranded refugees in Libya. Save the stranded refugees in Libya. Save the stranded refugees in Libya. Don't let refugees die in Libya.
حزب زي حنسا
Don't let refugees die in Libya. Don't let refugees die in Libya. Don't let refugees die in Libya.
Live are live? Oh.
Yeah, you speaking? Welcome to everybody to this demonstration.
What I mean, I'm moving on.
The situation in Libya, the terrible situation in Libya. I
تاخذ ولا تاخذ تقول لي أنا
migration asylum action.
أصبروا.
Thank you.
Organizations, we've organized this demonstration about the terrible treatment of asylum seekers in Libya. We had a report from our local MT, Paul Wonkin, who's sorry he couldn't be here today. But he sent his good wishes for this demonstration. He says he's
Excuse me,
had
can I
some
pass?
conversations
Of course you can. Thank you.
with the government about the
sorry.
situation in Libya. Is that right? Yeah. It was our friends Tesfam and our friends from Eritrea who suggested we should have this demonstration. But Eritrea is by no means the only country from which refugees are coming. The Sudanese, Nigerians, people from the Middle East, from Yemen and so on, people from all sorts of countries are trapped in Libya. I just got a few things to read out to you. Médecins Sans Frontières is working in Libya. They are a wonderful French organization of medical help. And a guy called Jean-Guy Watteau said, "What's happening in Libya violates my faith in humanity. Large numbers of people are simply vanishing from the face of the earth, their fate unknown to their families, the governments, the world. They come to Libya seeking better lives, but fall prey to people smugglers, kidnapping, or dying in the Sahara Desert." He describes the government detention centres, which are bad enough, but even worse are the unofficial detention centres. He says, "Many who journey through the Libyan desert are thrown into the hands of criminal networks who place them in warehouses. Those who survive staying in those places describe it as an excruciating experience." He fears that Libya could turn into a mass grave for those who journey there. And then there was an article in The Guardian in November by Kenan Malik, and he pointed out that a great deal of responsibility rests with the European Union, and we are, until the end of this month, a member of that organisation. He says, "Central to the EU strategy is the outsourcing of immigration control, paying countries like Libya to deter potential migrants to Europe. What is really being outsourced," he says, "is violence and instability. It's fueling criminal behaviour by perverse incentives to partner countries. The EU doesn't seem to care who its partners are." He says that their partners actually include the dreaded Janjaweed militia of Sudan. Malik says the EU doesn't seem to care who is locked up or what treatment they receive. A spokesman for Amnesty International said that the EU and its governments are complicit in these abuses. There's a desperate need for international action by the United Nations to address these abuses.
All right, thank you very much, David. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming and for supporting this demonstration. And I think this is the first in its kind, because we have to do more, because thousands of lives are suffering in Libya, and the consequence of the situation will be tragic. I'm sure it is going to be tragic. At the moment, it is tragic, but it will be as well if the international community is not going to take action. So thank you very much, and thank you very much for being part of this movement. I would like to to invite our speakers.
Matt has studied European migration policy and written a book about it, so he's very well qualified to speak.
Thank you very much. We often hear the expression Europe's migrant crisis from politicians. This crisis is usually described as a crisis of numbers and a crisis of resources for Europe and for Europeans. How many migrants should Europe take? How can Europe reduce the numbers of people coming here? But there's another crisis, another migrant crisis going on outside Europe that gets less attention. This is the crisis of survival, a crisis in which migrants and refugees have been abandoned to death, danger and exploitation beyond the borders of Europe. For more than a decade now, this crisis has been unfolding in Libya. Even before the fall of Colonel Gaddafi, Libya was one of the main transit countries for migrants and refugees trying to reach Europe. Under Gaddafi's rule, tens of thousands of migrants crossed the country with some of the worst migrant detention centres in the world today. Rape, torture, indefinite detention, forced labour, human trafficking, the absence of any legal routes to asylum protection. All of this was already well established under Gaddafi, and all of it has become worse in the last decade as Libya has become a war zone. Today, tens of thousands of migrants in Libya are trapped in a failed state without a functioning central government, at the mercy of warlords, militias and corrupt state institutions. In the absence of any international oversight or protection, migrants may be kidnapped and held for ransom. They may be beaten, starved, enslaved, or even forced to do mine clearing. Early this month, 2 Eritrean refugees were shot dead in a robbery after leaving the UNHCR gathering and departure centre in the Libyan capital of Tripoli. According to other migrants, the 2 men were forced to leave the centre in order to reduce overcrowding. These tragedies are part of a much wider tragedy. The UNHCR departure centre in Tripoli is overcrowded because the people there have no country to go to, because European governments are unwilling to accept them. In the Mediterranean, Italy and the EU have reduced their search and rescue operations since 2015. Today, migrants found at sea are routinely handed over to the corrupt Libyan Coast Guard, which takes them back to Libya, regardless of what happens to them when they get there. The European Union and our own government have funded migrant detention centres in Libya without ensuring any oversight over these centres or any coherent routes to enable refugees to access the Geneva Convention refugee protections. This is not simply a mistake. Our governments know the conditions in Libya, they know the risks, they know that Libya is a country where the rights of refugees are being systematically violated. They know this, but still they send people back there and do nothing to help them get out, because the more dangerous it is in Libya, the more they hope that people will stop coming. In other words, Libya has become part of a wider policy of deterrence in which the European Union and our government are complicit. Our governments would like us to accept this as normal, as part of the solution for Europe's migrant crisis. But Libya's migrant hell is a humanitarian crisis. So we all have a choice here. We can accept this as normal too, or we can call on our government and the EU to end the shameful pushback policy in the Mediterranean, to establish safe routes for migrants, to restore search and rescue operations, to stop criminalizing NGOs that rescue migrants, other countries to do our dirty work, to start living up to the moral and political principles that
Thank you very much, Matthew. That was a very helpful and informative speech. I'm now going to invite one of our city councillors, Councillor Angela Arduzio from the Green Party, and she is also a trustee of City of Sanctuary.
Good afternoon, everybody. The condition of asylum seekers and migrants stranded in Libya is inhuman. Many are fleeing conflicts and wars and all simply looking for a better future elsewhere. They find themselves in a country that cannot safeguard them against harm, and they face torture, rape, being trafficked, and early death in detention centres. If they are lucky, they get to go on a boat to cross the Mediterranean. Their journey often ends with them being sent back to Libya, as the EU, which includes the UK government at the moment, prevents them from crossing to Europe. Or worse, they find themselves on an unsafe, overcrowded boat that too often sink. It is estimated that in 2019 alone, 1,317 people died whilst crossing, attempting to cross the Mediterranean, which is in fact a huge mass grave. These are just estimates. The real numbers will never be known. I am very proud to stand here with you on behalf of some of the most vulnerable people on the planet. Let's not forget them. Let's put pressure on our government and on the EU to find a solution that respects human dignity and basic universal human rights.
Thank you very much, Angela. Thank you very much. And now I'm going to invite Abdul Guljar of the Islamic Society of Britain to speak.
Hello everyone. Thank you very much on this Saturday to make time to be concerned about the plight of humanity. I want to share with you, when we talk about refugees, sadly, last year there was no much has been said by the media about refugees. Last year I went to Jordan. There's 500,000 refugees. When I come back, I gave a talk in the church. I say a dog has better value than a refugee. The refugees are human beings who has been deprived the right, the dignity, and most important, to reside in a very secure environment. Let me explain to you what it's like to be a refugee. And we, as human beings, regardless our faith, no faith, we have a human responsibility. Yes. We have a moral duty to be a voice for the refugees. None of you here want to be a refugees, want to be asylum seekers, unless the circumstances force you to be. Yes. And this is the reality. Yeah. 2 o'clock in the morning in Greece, I walk in the sea. I was frozen to death, holding babies, holding women out of the boat, screaming, crying. And when they come out, they cannot say a word of English. They feel in despair. And if you see what sort of conditions they are living, they were treated not as human beings. They were treated as prisoners. They were treated as prisoners. If we, human beings, with a conscience, with a moral duty, we don't stand, say enough is enough, we will have blood in our conscience when these refugees are dying and you not care about them. There is statistic from UNHCR, over 48,000 refugees and asylum seekers are registered. The majority, 37%, are from Syria, 26% are from Sudan, 15% are from Eritrea. So far this year, UNHCR registered 7,600 individuals in urban areas of Libya detention center. You all know, right now Libya is lawless. Me, I have been doing charity now for 30 years of my life. I have traveled every corner of the world. And right now you come and give me 100,000 pounds. You say to me, go Libya. I will refuse your money. I will even present cities. Team from Libya. And now, those destitute who have fled from war, who have fled from poverty, are experiencing a situation that they never thought would happen to them. I urge you, members of the humanity, members of this great country, this citizen, we cannot afford to be silent. We have a moral duty to be the voice of the voiceless, so that tomorrow, when the refugees meet you, the asylum seekers see you, when they say, what have you done for me? You can raise your hand. Your plight is my plight. Your suffering is my suffering. Your sorrow. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you, Abdul. Great speech. And I'm now going to invite Councillor Zahira Naz, who's a Labour councillor for City Council here, to speak.
Thank you. I first went to Calais last winter in 2018 to volunteer and to take some warm clothes for the Care for Calais winter appeal. When I visited the migrant camps, the conditions were horrendous. I have been back 4 times since then, and we are planning on going again at the end of this month. The refugees we met are human, just like you and me, people with dreams, ambitions, people who have made long and dangerous journeys from some of the most unsafe countries in the world in order to seek a better life. We need safe and legal routes now. The Home Office has spent the last 10 years increasing security and deterrence in Calais, but this has had no effect on the overall scale of arrivals of refugees in northern France. Desperate people who have fled war and persecution have continued to take dangerous risks to reach family and safety in Britain, and they will still after this. We need safe and legal routes for people to claim asylum in Britain. That's the only way to stop people making dangerous journeys across the Channel and to smugglers and traffickers. A few months ago, 39 people died in the back of a lorry. This is truly tragic, but desperately predictable and avoidable. If you deny people safe and legal travel routes to find safety, you are leaving them with no choice but to risk their lives on utterly perilous journeys in the hands of criminal gangs. These gangs are a symptom of a much deeper problem, namely government's failure to provide safety to those who desperately need it. Last summer was the deadliest summer in the Mediterranean. In June and July, a total of 1,360 people were confirmed drowned. At the same time, all Mediterranean rescue ships were blocked. in different ports around southern Europe, even though each of them was ready to carry out search and rescue mission with volunteers. This proves, in the most shocking imaginable, that letting people drown is not a deterrent. We have a moral and legal obligation to save lives at sea as a priority. Anything else is unthinkable. We need safe and legal routes now. Those in refugee camps in Libya have risked their lives to get to the border and continue to risk their lives while living in cramped, unsafe conditions, and are waiting for an opportunity again to risk their lives to come to a safe country where they believe they will be safe and free. We have to be the voice for the refugees. Let's do what we can to make sure that that is their reality. Let's speak louder, donate, volunteer, and continue to stand up for the rights of the refugees, and let's continue to say refugees are welcome here.
Thank you very much, Maxine. Thank you. And now our next speaker is Maxine Bowler from Stand Up Against Racism.
Thanks very much. Yes, I'm from Stand Up to Racism, and alongside Zira and Manu from SciMag and a number of other people, we have visited the camps in Calais on a number of occasions, and I have to say that many of the people in the camps have poured out of Africa. From Eritrea, from Sudan, from Libya, from across the whole of Africa, and the conditions there are appalling, but I think they're nothing in comparison to the conditions in the Libyan camps. The squalor, the torture, the beating, I think they are the responsibility of the West. The lack of, the fact that there's no hope for people there really lies squarely at the feet of Western governments. It's their wars, it's their climate change that has created the refugee crisis in the first place, and it's time that our leaders took some responsibility for that. But instead, what do we see? Them trying to block safe access for people who are desperate from getting out of Africa. People have been persecuted, people who are hungry, people who are looking for a better life. We're told that it's a good thing for people to look for a better life, but when people try to do that, their access is blocked. You see thousands of people dying in the Mediterranean. Then you have Matteo Salvini threatening to prosecute firefighters who rescue people from the sea. What a disgrace! I fancy doing that. These are people who are showing some humanity towards the refugees, but they say that they will be prosecuted if they fish people out of the sea. And I've heard people speak, some of those firefighters, about the conditions of people who are arriving in those boats, and it's an absolute disgrace. Then you have Salvini also stopping people from landing the rescue ships inside of Italy. And I think that it's fantastic news that you now start to see a movement arising inside of Italy called the Sardines. And there are people who are challenging Matteo Salvini's right to stop refugees from coming into that country. And it's the hope that those people will have some success in stopping and making sure people have the right to come into those countries. I also see the way in which the governments time and time again are increasing the legislation to stop people from getting safe passage, and they are making sure that they offshore the question of the asylum crisis by blockading people in the north of Africa. And I think that we have to make sure that their voices are heard. One of the things that we in Stand Up to Racism are doing is we have a big demonstration on the 21st of March, which is an international demonstration that takes place across the world. And we are trying to make sure that the voices of the refugees are heard, that they're not treated as if they are the problem. They are the victims of the system. They are not the problem. And we need to start to say that refugees are welcome here, and that we will start to retake back our humanity and start to treat people with some dignity. So I salute the people who've come here today. It's fantastic that you've turned out, but we need to raise our voices even louder. So get yourself more involved in the protests. We need to have more protests like this. Thanks very much for coming today, and it's brilliant to see you all protesting.
you very much. And now we have Sansom, who's going to talk about actually experience in Libya.
Thank you. زقبركم من بتعامل أنا نزقناكم. أنا بليبيا ماشي. ليبيا مرة يا حما. نرجع قطعنا تمنو قلنا بليبيا تساقي يعني.
Thank you very much. Sorry, it's not working. Thank you very much for supporting us. I lived in Libya for about 2 years and I suffered a lot there.
Thank you. زقبركم من أنا كتب له أبزي زقبركم thank you. بتعامل أنا نزقناكم. أنا تقدرني أسنى زي كذي يعني. بتقدرني أنا رجل. بنقول أسنى زي كذي يعني تقدرني أنا رجل. أنا بتعامل حما. أنا سكت تعامل ملا بليبيا تأثير. ليبيا سي. بقى مش عارف بتعمل يوات كاس بقى أوس لارجع موتين لارجع بتعمل يملو تساقي قلنا أسيرة دقت كده قلنا تات قلنا يعني.
Life in Libya is horrible. I was detained for about 2 years. I was tortured. There was not enough food. It was so terrible, and I managed to escape from a detention, and I've been so lucky to escape from that very awful life.
ليبيا بتعمل أنا أروح أول مسايز نور قدي فيها ماتي سكاب حاجة يوصلوا وتقطوا زموت اللو لا عادي أبزي قرب كذا كتسبب على جزء خيرهم بورات كيرهم أوش تجزون قتلهم بتعمل ليبيا حمام.
I have left many friends behind me in Libya. They are suffering, and people that I know they have died. People that I know they are in detention centers, and recently 2 people were killed by armed people in their house.
ليبيا بتعمل حماس لزغاني أسرة بيتعمل بتعمل بقى ولا خفيفك ولا كبرك أيوة غاني قابت ليبيا مالت. أنت بحرقة سقابة جاي تالغان كأتوس لذيك قالوا ترى.
The traffickers, they make you pay again and again, but they don't allow you to go. And to cross to Italy, it is very difficult and it is impossible. But you still keep on paying and paying more and more.
وهذه خمس جواركم أتبقيكم حجوزنا وجاكم كن حجوزنا نحن نبزلنا وجاكم عواتنا أفسقي سلازلنا وجاكم حجوزنا. كنا عواتنا يموت له يحرر له يتوفون له دايم زي ما سوات كانوا زعل سلازلنا وجاكم أنا حجوزنا.
Many of our brothers are suffering, being tortured, being killed, disappearing. No one knows their whereabouts. So thank you for helping us, and I ask you to continue to support us as refugees and our people over there to be rescued from the very difficult situation they are in.
أنا شنو سامسونج دوس قلبان أشوفك يوم تلقى أشوفك كلام تلقى عمد غير اللون كبير تلقى بكم هذا إسمه
My name is Samson. I am living in Sheffield, and I've been here for about a year. And I came from Eritrea, a place called Amhara. It's about 40 kilometers south of Asmara.
Thank you very much.
Bravo.
This was very prosaic after the last speech. I've literally only had 3 minutes to think about this. I had to speak on behalf of Amnesty at a climate change rally a couple of weeks back. And it occurs to me that the whole world is going to have to take a new look at what we define as refugees. I don't often quote from the Sun, but if you look at the Sun web pages on climate change, you'll see an animated map of what the country will look like when sea level rise, and with the second through on the coast and Lincoln is an island. And if the sea level rise really slowly today, from Florida and Bangladesh and millions of people on the coast are going to be classified as refugees, and the whole world needs to have a good look at how it's going to classify refugees and how it's going to deal with a big situation like that, which looks like it's going to crop up. I said it would be short, and please, thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ahmed would like to speak. He's from the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign. He's a Palestinian himself.
Hello, my name is Ahmed. Basically, I'm a Palestinian. I was born as a refugee and I lived my life as a refugee, and I've been living in Sheffield for 18 years now. And basically I'm British, but I still consider myself as a refugee because I was born as a refugee. So basically I'm here to support you, and basically I was here before that to support the SC campaign, to support the people who are engulfed in Gaza, and then we supported the Chilean support group, and here we are now with you. So basically I support you, and I urge you to participate in the political system and to vote whoever has the right to vote, because that make a big change and a massive change for your rights, and that basically support yourself by supporting others. So I give all the sympathy for the people in Libya, and basically they have and they deserve all the human rights that they are entitled to, because they are human, same as us. And basically I urge you to keep the struggle up, and hopefully we can support them by attending such demonstrations. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Fivan Hadera of the African Women Empowerment and Information Center.
Hi everyone, and thank you so much what you doing and all this hard work. My name is Fivan Hadera. I'm Eritrean nationality here, British nationality, but I'm suffering because my brother and sisters. It's not Eritrean only they suffering. They suffering all the Sudan, all the world. So we need to help them, the refugee. In Libya they suffering, they beat them, they don't give them enough food, and they crying. Even in Europe they suffering. I've been in Christmas Eve to give them food, but they couldn't get enough food. In the streets they sleeping more than 6 hours, 6 months and years. In college the same. So we need to help with refugee. We have to stand with them. They need solution. Today they are organizing all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Actually, Heather needs to all of us to thank her, because she came all the way from London. Yeah, thanks Heather. And she's a great activist in terms of contacting the refugees and supporting and encouraging them in Libya as well as in other places. Now I am going to talk about these photos here. Can you come a little bit forward, please? Okay. To give you some picture about the situation in Libya, but why are people in this situation as well, background to that. Okay. People who are going to Libya failed as a country. So all these refugees were drowning in the Mediterranean Sea, and some people were making it. But the European Commission and European countries made a deal to work with the Libyan Coast Guards to intercept refugees from crossing to the Mediterranean Sea. And that is against human rights, because people are just coming to claim asylum, and countries have the responsibility to process their asylum claim, and whether to refuse them or accept them, it is entirely up to the countries. However, these countries are using a remote control to stop people coming to Europe, and they are all falling in the hands of the human traffickers they are being sold as slaves and all that kind of things. So I'll go through some of these examples and what's going on with these photos. The first photo is this guy, and I have got two photos of him. His photo was circulating in the social media for such a long period of time because they were asking him to pay more than $10,000 and he was not able. And they were torturing him on a video call to his relatives and friends to ask them to pay such a big amount of money. And I don't know his whereabouts at the moment. The second picture, you can see very, very crowded refugees in a very degrading, inhuman way of treatment. That makes me always not sleep, because I see them sleeping in a way that there is no space where they are sleeping. Because there is no space here, what they have put is some clothing out there, and then they are sleeping even on air. That looks like but there is no space here. And then here, this poor lady here, I showed her recently on my Facebook account. Initially, she was with this human traffickers. She was sold for $2,000 in the first place, and that the person who was paid that £2,000, people raised money for her, and then he didn't release her. He sold her to other human traffickers, and then now her relatives and friends are begging for money. Guess how much that money is? $33,000. $33,000 for her release, and she has done nothing wrong. She went to Libya to come for her safety. That's it, for a better life, just to exercise her human right. And the next one, you might not be able to see it, but it is the way how refugees are treated. These people are being threatened with a machete. That's it. Here, recently some people say to me, there is a UNHCR I would say, I say it clear and loudly, there is no refugee. There is no refugee camp in Libya. Yes! But there is a gathering and the departure facility center. That gathering and departure center, it has the capacity to keep people up to 600. Then what happened with these women and children here on this photo is they left their detention facility when it was bombed, and then they went to the UN gathering and departure center, and then they were refused entrance for about 3 weeks without food, without shelter, without anything. And you can see these women and children just sitting and begging to be allowed to enter to the UNHCR facility. So that's why we are demanding the presence of UNHCR in Libya. This one, next photo, is they say we are the survivors of airborne strike in Tijara. On the 2nd July 2019, 53 refugees were killed by airstrike. So these people are just remembering that after 6 months, and that happened in January. This one, I had a phone call about 3 days ago from a refugee detention center where the area was bombarded between the 2 fighting groups, and some people were killed, and some of them are here outside the building because the building was targeted by the airstrike. So they went outside and they have to get that photo from them. And then you can see there are lots of photos here as refugees have been badly treated in Libya. So just this is to give you a background of their situation, and it is really, really horrendous. And as Tesfam, I'm really struggling to sleep, to live my daily life, because I hear their voice every night. I go to my bedroom and I see these images in my dream. So it is really horrendous, very sad, very sad situation to be in. And so I call to all of you to say, save refugees in Libya. 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 We want UNHCR 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 in Libya.
We want UNHCR in Libya.
Don't let them die in Libya.
Don't make them die in Libya.
Don't let them die in Libya.
Don't make them die in Libya.
Don't let 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 them die in Libya.
Save lives.
Save lives.
Save lives.
Save lives.
Save lives. Save lives. Save lives. Save lives. Save the stranded refugees in Libya. Save the stranded refugees in Libya. Save the stranded refugees in Libya. Thank you.
I think it's time now to call a halt to this demonstration. I think it's splendid that so many. We thank you all for coming and for joining in, and we hope that this will lead to other demonstrations in other parts of the country and to some action by our government and by other governments. And we particularly thank Tesfam for all that he's done to create this demonstration. It was his idea in the first place. Thank you, Tesfam. Thank you. Thank you, and all the best to everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, David.
I would like to say a little bit in Tigrinya as well. محتاج سبعة ونسالي of course. كل خاتكم كابستفا لا لبوتاتا تابزمت يكون جلكم بتعمي مسجنكم. كنقبر زقبانا نحنا نعاتهم بدحريان كلنا حيل خلهم يزقبانا خلهم سبع يزقبانا. ስለዚህ لما أنت أبشرفين إذا زرينا يطرح نازل لنمبر إذا من قصاص زي أب عالم دمسنا يتم عوسات كنكون حلفنتناي زابهر عدمنت عنان سلازهابنا زابهر نظام أنت زي أنا زهي وزي أكن نبرة تبت هذه نحكينا أبتبوت أمكن كوني زقبانا ما كلاتنا كابزي نززر إزي أبجسنا أب عالم ملو كن دمت أمكن كون كابزي زلوا تاتكنوت أمكاني حلفنتنا كلاتنا إذا من قصة زي كوسد مدى باللوه دحين تعطي جيرنا له عني زواج حسابات كابوهم يتصوتوا أولا سلازهلو تعطي خنجبر زخونة أنا خمسة كعلى نزجبر زلخو أبز خمس كمس كونكم كحلف زي دلجن أنا تراح يكون كريديت وستلو نزس راح زي على أمانية لالو على الباستر يسيف لالو كالو سبات بزحت لالو كابز كوميونيتي بزح زي تعارموني اتمسجنا نقول لهاتكم نتوم كابكالوت كتما زمت أخم كأني زيادة خمس كم فتو يغنيلنا نتوم كابكالوت كتما زمت أخم مجموع سنة تبغى خاب عن رخبنا يخون thank you.
نجرب تسفم أكيد بالك بلا
اوكي إذا تبدو الله فتب أجزاء بجبرنا من قال لكم على علونا تحت جسنا في وسطنا على علونا قال لكم أفروتات